6 o'clock, we will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder to silence your cell phones. We'll start with roll call.
Mayor Sherman?
Here.
Councilor Basil? Councilor Lindstrom?
Here.
Councilor Scalisi?
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin?
Yes.
Councilor Tyree?
Here. In front of
Yeah. Visitors and delegations. Doesn't look like we have any. Are you? You're a visitor.
I'm not a visitor.
All right. We'll go on to management. Yeah, no citizen comments. Let's see. It looks like we have a first reading of an ordinance for ordinance number 912-24, an emergency ordinance amending the Fresh Municipal Code to add regulations governing natural medicine businesses. Does anybody need to talk on this one, or just need to introduce
I'll
it?
give a little bit of a short background, and Scott's online. He can answer any more specific questions. But Dan Krob contacted me late last week, and he just had the question about the natural medicine businesses within the city of Brush, and if we want to regulate those or not. He said there's just a short window for us to get something put in place, and it's essentially in regards to psychedelic mushrooms and 3 other plant-based I guess drugs that you can use now. And if you want to put in those regulations, you have to get them started here pretty quickly. And there's a memo in your packet that outlines it pretty well. And so this would be the first reading. And the main thing to think about on this is what city zones you would allow and the mushrooms and everything to be manufactured and or sold. And then the other one is any certain setbacks from schools or daycares, which right now he has it at as 1,000 feet from any school or daycare. And that's about my depth of knowledge on it. So Scott's online if you have any other questions, but this will be the first reading. And then there's a certain number of days that you have to wait before you can go your second reading. But he's asking for it to be an emergency ordinance.
Do they have any questions for Scott? All right. Do you have anything else you want to add, Scott?
Well, the only thing that I would mention is that since it is an emergency order, it goes into effect immediately upon adoption. So that's the deadline to get something in place is January 1st. It's not quite like marijuana, because marijuana you could vote to not have it at all. And with what we call the magic mushrooms or the natural medicines, you can't exclude it. So you have to figure out where you want to put it. And if you don't do something by January 1st, then somebody could come in and open a licensed treatment facility in any zone district. So that's the reason for the urgency. But no, I think you covered it well. And if there are questions, I'll be glad to answer them. And thanks for letting me pinch hit for Dan tonight.
Thank you for doing it.
So where are we proposing to have them zoned?
It does say
In
Industrial and commercial zones, I think.
in the commercial core.
Can we increase the setbacks to more than 1,000 feet?
Yes. The longest I have seen is 1,500 feet. But I have seen some that go up to 1,500 feet.
And it says in here that we can also exclude, have setbacks for residential zones. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. I don't think that any of those are in your ordinance right now. And I think when I was talking to Dan about it, he suggested that you go ahead and get this in place now so that you have something. And that if you guys want to have further discussions about, do you want it in any zone districts other than the commercial core and the industrial, or if you do want to mess with those distances a little bit and adjust those, or if there are other time, place, and manner regulations you want in place, that you could amend this ordinance, down the road and get those in place.
Okay.
Okay. So this is, we can at least get this going and then we can amend it.
So this is just a temporary measure so that somebody can come in on January 2nd and just
Plan one.
post something down in the middle of town? Okay.
Yeah.
So my understanding is, we don't have a choice. Our choices are, we can put in some regulations, but as far as having it, we have no choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, but we can dictate where and how.
Right.
So-
Time, place, and
Okay. So, does anybody have anything else?
At what point do we get to revisit
Amendment.
this and make amendments to it?
Do we have to wait a certain length of time or anything before we can amend it? Or can we do it?
Nope.
Nope, we can do it in January. Okay.
Yeah, you can do it right away. It probably wouldn't be an emergency ordinance, so it would have to go through your second reading process, but
Okay.
you could start that right away.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
As long as we can amend it, then I'm good.
Okay. Yep, I agree. All right. So we need a counselor to introduce it by title.
I'm going to introduce the first reading ordinance number 912-24, an emergency ordinance amending the Brush Municipal Code to add regulations governing natural medicine businesses.
Second.
And then I think we need a motion to approve it on first
Is that what I
reading.
do? Okay.
That was the introduction.
That was the introduction. Now we need a motion to approve it on this first reading and publish it.
I got it.
Okay.
I move to approve on first reading ordinance number 912-24, an emergency ordinance amending the Brush Municipal Code to add regulations governing natural medicine businesses.
Second.
Do we have any more discussion?
Just real quick, when will we know when we're gonna return to this for, talk about amendments?
Anytime you guys are ready, just let us know. But I was going to have Dan Krob, when he came back to the next meeting, just give a more robust overview, and then we just go from there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
we
there
can,
any,
we can get on it as fast as we like.
Is there any idea if someone's actually moving on this or no?
Haven't heard anything about it.
Okay.
All right. Roll call vote.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Tyreek?
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, that motion passes. Before we adjourn, I just want to mention we did receive a resignation for Council Basil. He is resigning from council, so sorry to see him go and wish him the best. So we will be
Miranda's already
looking-
working.
Yeah, so Miranda will be working on getting both of those spots filled. And there'll be a letter of intent, and then we'll hopefully have some good applicants. So, all right, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn so we can move into our work session.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're
Everybody's
adjourned.
ready with it.
We're going to just dive right in.
We're done. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Yep.
Good night.